evening, Sharks fans and hockey fans reaching all over the United States, Canada, and everywhere else. This is a special playoff edition of Pucknology After Dark. Yes, we know the Sharks are not in the playoffs, but there's still playoffs. Playoffs? Joined by AJ Strong and Chris JWS. Gentry is a healthy scratch out somewhere, probably still working on his job on overtime. Guys, good evening to you. Chris, long time no see. Hope you're doing all right.
Good to be back.
Good to be back. Good to hear. AJ, oh boy, we will get into the playoff picks coming up, but first we always have to talk about the Sharks. So with that, use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark. You can tweet any of us at PuckGuy14, AJ_Strong, at ChrisJWS, or at Pucknology. Feel free to retweet our link for the show. Let's get a cajillion people on here. All right, that's out of the way.
Well, don't forget to ask them to subscribe as well, please.
Yeah, you just did it. So subscribe to this. This is where we're going to have all of the After Darks on one whole YouTube channel. Definitely, we will be coming in here and there. We won't be as consistent with every game because that would mean we'd be on every night. All right. So look, before we talk about the playoffs and our picks for the first round, we will talk about the San Jose Sharks. Usually they have their clean out of their lockers a day or two after. Apparently it has been announced that it will be on Wednesday, of all things, at the very beginning of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Very interesting. We've never seen this before, where they've delayed cleaning out their lockers. AJ, I'll start with you. There's been some speculation that some people will be changing. Ironic that the day before this whole thing were to go down, that Todd McLellan was named head coach of the Canadian national team for the World Championships. Your thoughts as to whether or not Todd McLellan will be coaching, well, let's put it this way. He's apparently good enough for Team Canada. Is he good enough for the Sharks to return next season?
He gone. He gone. That's all it is. He gone. There's no other reason. When you look at all the quotes that have been in the media, whether it was a case of once they knew they were already out, McLellan quoted as saying something along the lines of, I just want to enjoy this time, I want to enjoy these final two games, and then we'll get into it afterwards. When you hear stuff like that, that makes me think that, yeah, homeboy's ready to see what else is out there. He's clearly not on the same page as with what is happening in the Sharks world. And let's get into that for a second. Besides that I think that there's about a 2% chance of McLellan coming back, because let's be honest, who the hell wants to be a lame duck coach? It was either a case of he's gone or he was getting an extension, and you know what? He gone, and there's openings in Boston, probably going to be an opening in Philadelphia soon enough, possibly one in Arizona. We already know there's a huge one in Toronto. But the bigger thing, well, okay, you know what? Let's cover McLellan now, and then we'll segue to the next one. So, Chris, how do you feel about T-Mac being he gone?
Unless Plattner comes down from his German throne over there, his SAP throne, to come down and fire Doug Wilson, I'm pretty sure McLellan will be the sacrificial lamb. Whether he deserves it or not is irrelevant. Fans want blood, and even if most of the fan base doesn't want McLellan's blood, it'll do, right? So I expect him to be the guy.
But how is he taking a fall? How is he a sacrificial lamb if he's leaving? If it's a 49ers mutual parting of the ways, if it's a Gwyneth and Chris Martin conscious uncoupling. It's from what I'm hearing, it's not a case of McLellan's getting fired. It's that he wants out, and Wilson has no reason to say otherwise.
It's a nicer way of saying fired, partially because I think the Sharks org is taking itself in such a direction that why would a respectable coach? they're not to the 49ers level of dysfunction. They've gotten pretty cool. They've been flirting with it a lot this last season. That one more season like last season, I mean, the 49ers, man, they went from 0 to 60. Like, they make the Sharks look functional. But one more season like that, and the Sharks are going to be full Raiders circus mode. And what respectable coach wants anything to do with that? So if he leaves, more power to him. If he leaves, that's essentially firing, whichever way. I think, yeah, and again, sacrificial lamb can even be we're making a big change here. So whichever way, I don't know. It depends really, but the second he's gone, whether by firing or not, another team's going to scoop him right up. No question.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at what's out there. I didn't even know about the Boston one.
Well, it's not in stone, but there's a lot of speculation now that the spoked wheel missed it.
Absolutely. But, I mean, you've been to a Cup final twice in the last 5 seasons, and you're just going to give it up that way? Let's look at it this way. Babcock from Detroit, he hasn't been re-signed by the team, and maybe it's per se that their GM Ken Holland is wanting to see how he's going to play or how he's going to coach this team and see how he does with the team. Maybe everybody's waiting for the chips to fall with Babcock, especially with the draft lottery coming up this week. You could probably look at a number of teams that are going to be like, well, if we land McDavid, that maybe gives us a better chance to get Babcock as our head coach.
Well, if Detroit makes it past the first round, which would be considered an upset, does that give Babcock a length of rope, shall we say?
I think you would have to give it.
Yes.
You think so? I would say maybe 2 rounds. I think Detroit, they haven't made it out. Well, they missed the playoffs last year. The year before.
No, they didn't.
Or not missed. I mean, they went out in the first round. Sorry.
Yeah.
The year before, they went to Game 7 against Chicago in the Western semis. So he's still done a good job, but the problem is, yes, you miss the first round, you go out in the first round again. Does that mean you need to have a new voice in there? Maybe. And maybe what you do is maybe not have too much of a voice. You bring in McClellan. To me personally, I think when Babcock finds his home, wherever he's going to coach next season, I think McClellan will follow.
Ooh, that's interesting. See,
what
do you mean by follow? You mean like be his assistant?
No, not as an assistant. I say, okay, if let's say
you're saying that Babcock's the first one to move.
Yeah, I say Babcock goes let's say he lands in Buffalo. McClellan will get a phone call from Arizona or Buffalo or Toronto, wherever Babcock goes first. The other teams that didn't get in on the Babcock sweepstakes call McClellan next.
Okay. Now, I have a question. Do you really think either of them really has a really strong desire to go to a young, not so functional team? Like a lot of these teams that are at the bottom that are in the McDavid sweepstakes and are needing coaches, they're not they're a tomorrow team. To borrow Doug Wilson's turn of phrase. So would McClellan really walk away from this job? Yeah, money, but still, you're in it to win, right? So would he really walk away from this job for one of those? I tend to doubt it.
Yeah, but McClellan can see, as we all can, that right now Sharks are trending downward.
Oh yeah, they're on a bad trajectory. But the thing is, that's not, what's happened in the last year is not a guarantee that'll continue to happen. Like, say what you will about the last decade, there was a hell of a lot more good than bad.
Oh, absolutely. But if the winged wheel is not keeping Babcock next season, I could completely see them going for McClellan. I went back and forth with a couple people on Twitter, and one of the things that was pointed out is McClellan's almost the perfect coach to go to Detroit. He was under the, he came out of the Babcock system. He knows that culture. He knows the group. He's already familiar with a lot of the people there, that he could just kind of slide right in with maybe some different outlooks on things or whatnot, but it would be enough of a change possibly to get Detroit heading back in the right direction, yet it's not a complete, you're not going Tortorella on the situation, if you catch my meaning.
How crazy would it be if we end up swapping coaches with Detroit?
Stranger things have happened.
Is that improbable? Is it really that improbable?
It's not that improbable at all if you're New York and Vancouver.
You just never know.
If New York and Vancouver can do it, why not?
Oh, and those two have been that tied together, though. I mean, we have a long history with Detroit between, there's that whole rivalry, playoffs. A lot of things have happened, although now they're in the Eastern Conference. But it wouldn't shock me at all if somehow, if Babcock got let go, McClellan walks away or is fired, whichever, if somehow a swap ended up happening, and I'd be perfectly okay with that, 'cause to me that's no worse than it's a lateral at worst and an improvement at best.
Right.
But we still agree that it's a mistake to I should say, let McClellan go. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to. I would consider Babcock a possible upgrade, but I'd rather not unless we have something better in mind, and I think that's possible.
Well, I think that's a good segue into some of my notes here, the things I wanted to cover. So if Wilson allows T-Mac to go, clearly if he's not going to give him some sort of an extension with only 1 year on his deal, and you taunting asshole, Chris. If he's not going to give him an extension, which is clearly a vote of confidence, not giving him an extension is just about the same as saying I don't believe in you. So with that, we all heard last season about this is a tomorrow team. We're probably going to have to take a step backward to go 2 steps forward. We've come full circle almost 1 year later, and where are we at? There was a lot of we're going to hand off responsibilities to the rookies. It was shit like that. It's going to be an open competition
for the captaincy.
Yeah, for the captaincy in training, people that want responsibility, people that want to, that step up and take the brass ring, they're going to have that opportunity. And now, less than a year later, we're looking at, losing. Probably, I think we can all agree that Miami's is 99% he gone. Then it's losing your head coach, he gone, and now. Doug Wilson told us about this big vision, and he always used to point, it seemed as though, that getting rid of Klo and Murray for some picks and things like that was kind of like the start of it. Like that was phase 1, and we're like in phase 2 now. Well, are you really meaning to tell me that phase 3 was losing your starting goalie, losing your head coach, and now we're hearing rumblings from, I believe, Ross McKeon, maybe even Kevin Kurz, a couple people saying that Doug Wilson is planning on transitioning, and the Sharks could very well have not only a new coach, but a new GM. And maybe this is a case of why they did wait a day or 2 longer than normal for media access, is it's a case of McClellan is leaving, and that in turn, because anytime you bring in a new GM, typically they want to put their stamp on the team to start off, and usually the first thing they do is bring in a new coach. So if you're going to transition out whatever the hell Doug plans on doing, whether he's going to go be head of accounting to make sure Plotner tries to break even, or whatever his plans are, this is the perfect time. You just do a wholesale change, kind of like they did in Vancouver a year or so ago, or new GM, new coach, and you start over. But then it comes back to, well, hey, Doug, what the fucking smoke were you blowing a year ago with your plans and your phases? Because it's fucking gone now. It's like you basically were talking out of your ass a year ago.
Oh, I mean, maybe he wasn't. Maybe this transition being hinted at for him, maybe that
This was
not
all part of the plan?
Well, no, maybe that wasn't even in the plan. Maybe this transition, I don't know how strong, I hadn't even heard much about that, but maybe that's more Plotner tapping him on the shoulder and it's like, maybe you should step aside. Let's do this, in a way that looks better for you. So, I mean, it could be that. I mean, I don't know. And I think 2 years ago when he dumped Murray and Clough, I thought that was fantastic. That was some great maneuvering. That was actually he pretty much salvaged that season that was going to complete shit. For all the bad that happened this last season, we got a lot of young guys with a lot of seasoning now. So that could pay off next year, and it could be handing a new GM if that happens. Please, could be handing them a lot of young guys who actually have some real seasoning and something to build with. So
and also bringing in a GM who doesn't force his coach to play a strong forward at the defensive position. I think that would also be something interesting.
You're talking about John Scott?
No. No, John Scott. John Scott will actually be in goal next season. That's who's replacing Yevgeny. I found the tweets that I was talking about. They were from Ross McKeon. He says, if the Sharks GM Wilson gets a new title, does anyone else see the irony of stripping Thornton and Marlowe of the sea yet being kept around? I think that's pretty funny. But it says also, if the Sharks give GM Wilson a new title, don't expect it to be president. They have one, and John Tortora isn't going anywhere, much to the chagrin of thousands of Sharks fans.
Wait a minute here. He doesn't go by president. He's just COO.
No, he's saying they have a president, and they're not going to make they're not going to make Wilson COO because they already have Tortora, and Tortora isn't going anywhere. So I think it's a case of, are they going to just have to create a new position for Wilson to, I guess, help him save face in this move? Because let's be honest, if he came out, he had all those comments that he had last season, and what do we all remember Wilson for this season? The biggest thing is that he got into a fight with his captain. That was essentially like what everybody's going to remember about him this season. And
so you mean his assistant captain?
Yeah, his alternate captain. But it all comes down to who has the power. Right? I mean, we don't know what's happening on the phone. Thornton could very well be, talking to his buddy Plotner in Germany saying, hey, I love being here, I love playing here, and I love playing hard for you, but I cannot play hard for this bonehead you have as your general manager, and it's essentially, you're stuck with me for 2 more years. So, and people aren't coming, it's that whole case of people are not coming out to see Doug Wilson general manage in the press box. They're coming to see Thornton pass it to the net on occasion. So, I'm going to be really interested to see if between now and, as long as Doug Wilson does not get moved to head of scouting or draft, I think I'll be okay with it. I can imagine him probably moving to accounting so he can balance Plotner's books.
It might not be a bad thing because there have been some guys like in the NFL, not perfect example, but who have done like a larger role, and then when they focus solely on draft, were a lot better in spite of a squad record otherwise because they actually had the time to focus on that. So
that's a good point.
I mean, either way, I don't know, I don't know if this is just a stepping aside or a coerced stepping aside or whatever it is, but I figure if it does happen, I think it would be a move maybe for the better. Hopefully, we could move forward.
Well, see, here's the thing, and I hate to use the excuse of the 25th anniversary next season, because he'll be a part of that mainly because he was the first captain in team history, and he's been around the organization for a really long time. It almost sounds like what the Flyers did last year when Holmgren got moved up to a front office job as was a president. Anyways, it just seems like he had that they'll move him to another job. He won't have the direct access of a general manager. Well, maybe it's almost like something like what Shanahan and John Davidson or Trevor Linden have in their respective teams, where there is a different GM, a different voice coming out and saying, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I have the final say." Blah blah yada yada yada. I think if Doug's named president, it could be interesting of how that works. If he's named president and GM, then
Well, it says, like I said, they already have this president, and so I don't know how that's gonna work out for them. I think the bigger thing is, what are we looking for in a GM? Now, is it a case of now? I mean, here's something that would like be kind of a stop the presses. Let's say for shits and giggles, not going outside the organization, or if you're Eric, the organization.
there you go.
Yeah. Now, here's something that would bake your noodle, but would potentially, at least as an announcement, maybe get fans a little bit on your side. What if they were to promote number 18 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts, Mr. No Teeth, Mike fucking Ricci?
I'd hope not. That'd be incredibly 49ers of them. Promote from within, regardless of qualifications.
Well, I mean, think about it though. Outside Daryl Sutter, I think the Sharks have always gone with no head coaching experience in the NHL. Kingston sucked. Constantine, he won a title in the minor leagues. You know.
Do you think I'm talking about Mike Ricci as a coach?
No. But I'm saying this is what the Sharks have done in the past: is gone with some guy that has no experience. Doug Wilson didn't have any GM experience. They named him it. You know who they were supposed to get? The guy that was supposed to be that just got fired in Toronto and helped in Vancouver. So they were supposed to get Nonis, and they didn't. I mean, let's look at it this way too. Doug passed on Joel Quenneville, who's got 2 Stanley Cups, maybe a third on the way, to name McClellan coach.
Oh, easy there, though. Like, you give McClellan the talent that Quenneville got there, I'm pretty sure McClellan would have won a cup there. Like, let's be very realistic about, like, the Blackhawks managed to put together a loaded roster. Like, I think I think Quenneville's good, but I think any decent coach probably would have come close or won a cup with that roster, because that roster, coupled, in 2010 and even 2009, 2012, there were some years where that roster was just scary top to bottom.
And even when they weren't, when they finished, I think it was 8th, and they almost pulled the reverse sweep on the Canucks in 2011.
Yep. Scared the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the catch, though. They had a GM that was wanting to win, and I'm not saying that Doug didn't before, but you also had an owner who wanted to win too. Now, that's the catch. We don't know what Hasso wants to do. Is he in it to save the money? Is he in it for just getting all the SAP stats deals? Is he in it to win a cup? Or what?
Well, I would think winning a cup right now appears to be at the very bottom of the totem pole.
Well, the problem also is...
I don't know about that. I tend to doubt that would be the case, but also keep in mind, though, Chicago, they had the luxury of being able to bottom out. Like, although, from what I heard about attendance, sounds like it definitely hurt them, but somehow they managed to stay afloat. If we had a better TV deal, maybe we could afford to bottom out.
Well, and that's a huge point to say right there. It's if Plattner is looking to, if he doesn't want to sell this team, and there's been rumors that there are people inquiring about it,
yes.
He's not going to sell. Is he merely looking to break even? And how will he ever make money or try to break even if they don't go to the Cup, and if they've got to choke down this TV deal for another 10 years? Icing a winning team is going to help, but it's the idea of you have to spend money to make money, and empty seats aren't making you any money.
Right. Well, and see, that's the thing. The Comcast deal is through 2027-28.
Who the fuck made such a ridiculously lengthy deal?
That was the last deal that Greg Jameson made
What a
every time
fucking
the president
dumbass.
go after the Coyotes. Um,
What an idiot.
I'd like to see that compared for its time compared to other deals made around the same time, because I think a trend I've seen, and I don't know if this is the case with this one, but a trend I've seen is like if you made a TV deal 10 years ago, you're freaking boned. But if you made it in the late 2000s, early 2010s, that's right when like the big sports boom was hitting TV, and that's where you could really just there's a reason why the revenue streams for MLB hockey is tripled like over the last couple of decades. It's not because Bettman's a good commissioner; it's because of TV. And same thing at the NFL. All these guys. It was just the right time. The internet got to where you could stream video, all this stuff where suddenly TV deals just blew up.
The internet, you had center ice. The other thing being is that you had an explosion of regional sports networks.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't have just Fox, because Fox was like the big one down here. You then had Comcast kind of expand out. That's when they bought out FSN Bay Area and expanded it to 2. And then you also had Root Sports. That's the DirecTV owned channel. You also have, of course, Fox as well. And then those are pretty much the big 3. And also,
think about it. 10 years ago, we were lucky to get I think 70 to 80% of the games in HD, and now look where we're at.
Which year was the deal inked in again? I don't have it in front of me.
It was 2010 because Jameson was still here.
2010? We got that bad of a deal in 2010? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna guess that was incompetent. I would bet if you map the deals signed year over year, controlled for some of the bigger markets, like you can't really compare it to like Toronto or like certain markets, but still, I would bet it was probably one of the worst deals signed in that time frame because, if we'd signed it like in 2005, that was right, but, the boom was just starting, 2005, 2010 time, and 2010, that's inexcusable.
Yeah, I don't understand how you get talked into such a ridiculous deal, such a lowball deal, and for such a ridiculously long length of time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and to have that be part of the reason that you're struggling. I mean, it's good that they got the Canadian Rogers deal. They have the money for the NBC deal. And here's the funny thing is because NBC, I think, was just on the verge of buying, or Comcast was on the verge of just buying NBC. So they really missed the ball right there to get on with that NBC money. And of course, it's gotten to the point where Bettman has tried to come into play to help out Comcast, and Comcast is, for their sake, isn't budging. Now, my point is, we've kind of seen the coverage slightly change. You don't have the ringside reporter anymore. You have Bakes down on the glass.
Good point.
I mean, what next? I mean, we're not getting to the point where Randy's doing, a quick post-game show as they're raising their sticks and then sending it off to the best damn sports show, period.
Yeah, but we did see, though, this season the transition of Brody and whoever doing the shows live from the tank to now always being in studio.
Right, and so that's a change. Is it permanent? I mean, who knows at this point?
It might also have to do with them losing Brett Hedican to the Sharks, because that was a bit of a shift there. Because Hedican's now a Sharks employee, they have a little less manpower in terms of their coverage team.
I'm still sure that they can fill that hole, whether it's Curtis Brown, Kyle McLaren, and to be honest, I'm wondering if Owen Nolan has ever been asked and he's just turned it down.
Say what you will about Brett Hedican, but he is worlds better than Curtis Brown or Kyle. I'm fucking stoned McLaren. Those I'm not a big Hedican fan, as you all know. Although I shouldn't really be talking about foreheads, I guess. But I mean
Heineken.
that is a bit of a hole. Just saying, that is a bit of a hole in their lineup, and whether they can fill that or not is a legitimate question.
Or maybe that's the new role for Doug Wilson. He did do that right after he retired. So he was the Sharks playoff analyst when they made the playoffs the first time around in '94.
Wow. I don't even remember that.
Oh gosh, I remember that one because it was painful to watch him use a telestrator. But
More painful than Curtis Brown.
you know what? I don't mind Brown.
I'm not saying I dislike Curtis Brown, as just he's not very good on TV, to be honest. He's better than Kyle McLaren, but still.
Well, let's be honest here. Brownie's got the hair that makes Brody jealous.
Makes me jealous.
Overall, I think Comcast still does an amazing job. They still have Shark Bite. They lost a huge chunk of that from Drew, but Brody's done an excellent job. You still have the same coverage. You have Kurz as an insider. I think the second you lose Kurz if you lose an insider, I think that's when you start panicking because let's be real here. If you're going to deteriorate the coverage, it's going to be rough. And let's put it this way. Let's say Comcast goes, okay, we'll do it for $12 million a year. However, we're not going to have an insider, and sometimes we won't have a post-game show.
Well, Comcast. I mean, if Comcast is going to pay more for the rights, they're going to do more. They're not going to reduce the coverage because you don't pay for rights and reduce coverage. That's not how, unless you're 95.7. But let's not go there. Let's stay off that topic. Anyways, but Comcast has no reason to move on this from everything I've heard. And also, I guess they just inked a big deal with the 49ers to get it's not, they don't show their games, obviously, but to get more access, because, football is king, and people would rather watch people yak about football than actual sports happening. But let's not go down that road either.
Here's a question for you, as AJ's pouring a
Rogue double chocolate stout. I actually have one of those in my fridge downstairs. I've been drinking plenty of the Elder, the number 7 rated beer on Beer Advocate all evening, and I have a couple more down in the fridge.
I won't say what that looks like, but okay.
You owe me one. You owe me one. Hold on to it.
So
no, that's the heady topper. But
I want one of each. So anyway.
Anyways, back to the deal though. They just inked a deal with the 49ers and paid out a bunch of money for that. I don't know how much, but I'm going to guess it's probably more than they're paying the Sharks, which is sad. But it sounds like they don't have a lot of money to throw around, and they have no reason to, the Sharks unfortunately have no leverage, which is why I'm a little worried that it's not out of the question that the Sharks could move out of the area. Like, I don't know if it would be a permanent thing, as in okay, I'm going way out there, but I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if they were to move and then eventually another team were to either be started up here, basically a Sharks reboot, or moved into the area as Sharks 2.0. But it would not honestly surprise me.
I can't see them moving just because the NHL gets no money from relocation.
Right, and that's what
the NHL wants that $600 million from expansion fees.
Yep. Well, I don't know. It's a matter of how they want to get around it, because technically, yeah, they could get around the whole deal thing by moving the Sharks, which nullifies the deal, and then expanding back to San Jose a couple years later.
Oh, well, if we take it to the tweets, Nedich, one of our buddies here, Chester Chivo, says, Randy and Jamie will be doing road games from the CSN studios like they used to for Quakes games. It wouldn't be that difficult, to be honest with you. I mean, you give a big enough TV, and I mean, what else really do you need aside from the interviews during the well, I guess you don't even need that, because if you want the interviews, you can just listen to Russo and Hetty on the radio.
Yeah, and you can still get a satellite, to feed them into the game. There's no way in hell that would happen. I don't even think the league would allow that to ever happen anymore. I mean, come on, if you're going to have Florida and Arizona's analysts go to Edmonton or Montreal, that's we're running into big financial problems if that's going to happen. Remember, Randy and Bakes are Sharks employees. It's not like how Drew is at Sportsnet up in Canada, where he's actually a Sportsnet employee. So,
Uh,
so it's.
uh,
I mean, you have that. So that
I
would be
just
if they're doing the game from there. Then that tells me that there's some financial problems with the Sharks organization.
well,
Well,
I
they use fun accounting to make sure that they have financial problems when they need to say they have financial problems, or no financial problems when they, it's when it
see
suits them.
that's my issue. And in fact, I came across an article on Base Sports Net, which I'd never heard of, but somebody passed it along, and actually let me hop on the old Twitter machine, and I'll hashtag this Pucknology After Dark. So if anybody's watching, and of course you guys want to know what I'm referencing, but I came across this article that was supposedly opening the books on what's going on with the Sharks. It's called San Jose Sharks Behind the Numbers, and it says, it's funny they reference the scene in Moneyball where David Justice is asking why sodas cost $1 in the clubhouse. It's with a consistent raise in ticket prices over the last 10 years, an announcement to season ticket holders that the Sharks are prepping for yet another hike after this disastrous, rebuild they iced this season. You thought it would be necessary to see where that money is on the ice. And it talks about after the 2012 season how they declared they had lost $15 million, a figure that was substantially higher than the previous lockout-shortened season. And leading up to 2013, the Sharks have had operating incomes of minus $5 million, minus $6 million, minus $8 million, minus $1 million. So I want to know, when they're doing their cutesy little and actually, you know what? We need to, just for a second, let me digress. One of the things that is talked about on here, it says the Sharks' local television deal with Comcast is so horrible, it's even caught the attention of NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. The team is locked into a 13-year deal that pays them just $7 million. When did that 13-year deal start? Because you said it's taking us into 2027?
Yeah. So
There's some discrepancies here.
yeah, there
So
can't
maybe it's from a year ago.
because that would mean that they just re-upped it, and if they just re-upped it
No.
to tours, well.
Well, you know what? We made. Well, I'm sure. You know what? Something to ask at the next State of the Sharks, but I'm sure it's something we'll never know. But anyway, getting back to these numbers, as Chris was saying, it seems to be a lot of creative accounting, and I'm not one to know, but I would love to see them crack open the books. Are the Sharks losing as themselves, paying for their coaching staff and the trainers and the blue coats and the concession people and everybody that works a Sharks game, the airlines, the gas for the fuel for that, just everything that has to do with getting from game 1 to game 82 every season. Is that what they're losing money on? Or is it they're losing money on that includes the SaberCats selling 4,000 seats per game, concerts that don't sell out, and does that include? Are they including the money from parking that they get? Are they including the money from concessions?
Are they also including the money from Sharks Ice?
Yeah, Sharks Ice. I mean, I want to know exactly what they are talking, where all these clearly not little, they're talking, upwards of 5, 6, 7 million, but where are these losses coming from? Is it, beyond, is this the Sharks, or is this Silicon Valley Sports Entertainment that is losing 15 million a year. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So the parent organization, to my understanding, is profitable, well and profitable. And when I say creative accounting, I don't. Maybe I should define what I mean by that. As in, you can manipulate when you have that giant umbrella, and you have the sharks as one item under that umbrella. It's very easy to shift things around to fit your message. If you want your message to be we're dying here, poverty, you can very easily do that by just attributing certain, like building, you can attribute more to the building. Now, if you're doing it evenly under the umbrella, where everything is really realistically accounted for, I was an accounting major at one point. I switched because I'm not a number crunching nerd. Actually, wait, I am.
Well, let me ask you a question.
But if you're let me just finish one real quick. If you are doing realistic accounting, that's not really a technical term for it, but if you are actually attributing everything in the proper place, it wouldn't surprise me if they are losing money. They probably are, but again, I think they will manipulate that number to fit their message.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. In other words, kind of explained in the lower part for the lower third. It's kind of like, in one way you look at it, you can say you're number 4 in the market, but when you see it from another angle, you're 26th in the market. Kind of like that.
Not quite like that. Just what I mean, if you could put the full cost of the building,
but I think
look at all the building upkeep and say, that's just primarily for the sharks, so you could attribute a little more heavily over. You can massage the numbers enough to where you can fit your message.
I think you understood where I was going with that.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly where you're going. And the thing is, most businesses do that. This is how giant corporations evade taxes in the U.S. They manipulate their numbers. It's like, man, you get an amazing amount of productivity and stuff billed to your office in a little thing in the Cayman Islands, and your U.S. office pulls in no revenue. Same kind of accounting tricks.
Well, according to Generation X-Wing, he believes that these operating losses are specific to Remenda's salary and wardrobe stipend. And if you look at Remenda's ties, I don't think I can disagree from that too much, because those are pretty stellar.
And he did say he had a little expense account at Macy's years ago, so that surprised me. They still have Randy on there, so I mean that's another issue. Down the road, let's be real here. Let's dissect this team and do our own exit interviews right now. Let's be real here.
Have we not been real earlier?
Hey, we like to keep it real. We try to keep it fresh, and we try to keep it real fresh. But
and the reason why we call it Pucknology After Dark is because Pucknology Late Night Confidential was too long of a hashtag.
Right. Although we're looking for suggestions to shrink down the hashtag. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, the sharks aren't the only ones trying to save money.
We know Joe and Patty aren't going to go anywhere. There's no way for that to happen unless it's
I honestly don't know about that.
Really? You think one of them would be gone?
Yeah, I kind of do. I have, I don't know if you caught it. Kevin Kurz, who, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes reading Kurz, I look at some of the things that he writes and I go, the hell's that guy been smoking? Or it seems like he kind of mailed this one in. And then there's other times he puts out some really, really good stuff. And there's even a couple times where I just think it's funny. I'm going, I wonder if he's watching this, because I swear to God, half of his article is stuff that we said the last Pucknology. But anyway.
Well, Kevin is watching. By all means, if you want to join on in the conversation, let me know. Just tweet me, and I'll send you the link through private message.
So anyway, Kevin had a spectacular read today. It's one of the, I think it might be the longest article I've ever seen him write, and it was all fantastic. And it's covering basically kind of all, touched on all the off-season problems. And one of the things that I really, really kind of made you think, when, especially when you're talking about dissecting where we're at, is, and it kind of goes to why McClellan should be kept, is, first off, Niemi was what? What's the word we're looking for here? I don't want to say predictable. He was pedestrian. It's like, did he steal a couple games? Absolutely. But any goaltender in this league should be able to steal a game from you. Look at that. Right. Who was that son of a bitch from Edmonton who stopped 59 shots last season?
Scrivens.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
You're going to have a goaltender pull one out of his ass every once in a while. And this year, Niemi, I believe, he had a couple. And yeah, that's great, but Stalock also had a very nice outing shutting out Montreal. Grosnick had a very nice outing shutting out Carolina in his debut. So yeah, you would expect Niemi would shine a little bit harder. So Niemi is UFA. He's probably gone, and I don't. If the Sharks address the defense, I don't think Stalock and or Grosnick are going to have any really much less success than Niemi did. But the better part is, Kerr's highlighted a couple things, being that Thornton and Marleau are they're older. While Thornton, I wouldn't say is necessarily on the decline, he's not going to get any better. But Marleau, for us, even if it's not even a case of looking at the numbers, and the numbers do pan it out, that Marleau's on the decline. There was even a mention that Drew Remenda early in the season had said that Marleau looked like he was pouting during part of the games. We also saw Marleau get demoted a few games this season, right, and put down to the third line. Marleau just doesn't look happy. He doesn't look like he wants to be here any longer. Whether it's a case of,
has he ever really looked happy though? That's not it's his demeanor though. I think you're judging him on a demeanor he always has.
No. It's not so much a demeanor thing. It's just you can see the excitement in his game from time to time. You can see those bursts of speed. There was a couple times where he had what normally would have been a breakaway easy for him, and he almost seemed to be half-assing it. And it's either that was a decline move, or it just seemed like, I'm used to seeing Marleau, in that situation, I'm used to seeing Marleau's legs move just a wee bit faster.
Well, he is 35 years old now.
I get that. I'm saying I get that.
How old did you move at 35, AJ?
Yeah, I know. But the whole thing is the will it doesn't seem to be what it once was. And if he's on the decline, he's had his worst season in almost 10 years. I think it's, if anybody, maybe Marleau either wants to say, you know what, he figures it out that he's done, or he decides that, you know what, ask Wilson or whoever it ends up being tomorrow, work out something that says, hey, work out a deal with L.A. It's not
07-08 he had a worse season. No, that's.
But I'm just saying. But L.A., it's like, work out a deal with L.A. Keeps him close. I mean, L.A. or Anaheim. It keeps him close to his family, and it both, as we've seen this season, both L.A. and Anaheim will probably have another good shot at going all the way next year. Now, provided you get some sort of good, decent value back, whether it's picks, prospects, or whatever, because I would venture to say that Anaheim or LA are not going to give you anything worthwhile player-wise unless they're looking to dump salary or something. But I could just, at least work out some sort of deal that puts Marleau in a position to try to win now, whatever, or just, either way, Marleau, for me, he's done. But anyway, goddamn, we went way too long on Marleau. The other points that were made by Kurz on here is talking about how Hertl, Nieto, were kind of linear. They didn't really take the next step this year. If anything, you could almost say Hurdle might have regressed a little bit, but then again, Hurdle, was shot out of a cannon last year, so I don't think anybody would have expected him to sustain that. And then Established Sharks had regressed too. Braun clearly took a step backwards, and that motherfucker better take a big step forward since his big contract kicks in next season. You've got Burns back at D, which we all know was fucking god-awful. And that's the other interesting thing that was brought up, and Shalina brought it up at the last Pucknology After Dark. Will we see Burns back at 4? Because I guarantee you Burns isn't going anywhere. And Burns is essentially going to be the highest paid defenseman on this team. That's your highest paid defenseman, and he's getting, he's playing essentially third pair minutes.
Well, you have to hide him, which is not a good thing. It's
exactly. You don't do that to your highest paid guy.
It's one thing to hide a guy because you want to highlight his offensive strengths. Because they did that with Boyle at times because they wanted him to be able to face weaker competition. But I think they are literally hiding him from competition. But I think as long as Doug Wilson has the power and the say-so, I don't think they're going to put Burns at forward because I think his ego is too much to admit that, I still like the Burns deal. I don't think it was a bad deal. I mean, ultimately, if you look at how the other end of that hasn't gone to where it's saying, yeah, clearly we lost. I think it's pretty close to a wash, but I think he has too much ego to admit, yeah, we got a great player, but not a great defenseman. We got a great forward.
This message brought to you by @DougWilson'sEgo. You can follow that on Twitter. So,
is that you, who is that?
Yeah, who is that?
That @DougWilson'sEgo I might have a little bit to do with it because somebody gave me the idea.
That would be the third Doug Wilson parody Twitter account, so wouldn't surprise me if you were up to something.
I have nothing to do with the other ones, but this one, in fact, one of our favorite followers @Sporting Agenda was the one who popped the idea into my head, and I said, you know what, that could be fun, and that could give me a nice little outlet to some of the crazy things that pop into my head. So follow @DougWilson'sEgo, please. Anyway,
moving along. One thing that Diane D.S. Gaimon was saying, didn't Marlowe's wife have a new baby? Maybe he was tired, but he's had a few others in the meantime. I don't think he was that affected in the past by it.
He was young. I don't know.
He was younger.
He was younger.
Yeah, but it wasn't too far along I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I mean, there's any number of things you can attribute to it. There were distractions. I mean, I think the whole team. I think it's not unique to him. I think 2/3 of the team underperformed. Yeah. And I don't, and that's why I say it's a management issue first. Because I think a combination of they'll say the distractions don't affect their play, but the distractions they affect their play. I mean, even if you guys ever watch the Sports Science on ESPN, they actually did some talk about explaining how if you have distraction, I forget how they explained it, but basically the fact that if you have things on your mind, you have things you're worrying about. Your cognitive function goes down. Your ability to focus actually goes down.
Just ask
that's science and shit.
Just ask Martin Brodeur when Sean Avery's in front of him, would you? That's distracting.
I'm talking more like macro distractions, but they said your ability to see and react, just to see and react goes down when you have if you're like me and you're worrying about your job.
No, I think it's I think it's also not only that kind of distraction, but what if it's a case? How hard or easy is it for you to get up for a game when maybe half the team or half the guys that you're looking at in the locker room all think that one of your players should be playing forward instead of defense? Even Marlowe said it towards the beginning of the season that he thought Burns should be at forward. And I just, you've got a guy who's taken your C. You've got this GM who's handcuffing your coach by forcing Burns to play at D, bringing in guys like John Scott, keeping guys like Scott Hannon. Just, if you start to question the general manager and the direction of the franchise, does that make it a little more difficult to get up for every game? I mean, yeah, there's some internal pride that you want to play as well as you can, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are those Ricky Water moments on some nights where it's for who, for what.
Yeah, that's very true. But at the same time, that's what this exit interview strategy is all about. With getting out of this, and whether or not it's with somebody else or not remains to be seen. Because if Doug were to say, "Well, I'm taking a different spot. We're going to hire a new GM." Number one, that means Doug's going to be a part of the GM process, and number two, the new GM might need an exit, interview.
That motherfucker's going to need an exit strategy, if you know what I mean.
Hey.
Hi-yo!
Hey-yo.
Speaking of things that we're exiting from, well, first...
Hey, John.
Wow. Just a reminder, if you want to be a part of the show, and after that comment, who wouldn't, I guess, use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark. Tweet us at PuckGuy14, at AJ_Strong, at ChrisJWS, and at Pucknology. With that, speaking of exiting...
Hold on, and with that, yes, speaking of exiting, Ross McKeon has just tweeted out that the media assembles at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, so I'm assuming by 10:30 or so, it's not, he's saying that it's not a formal press conference by any means. I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of scrum type stuff. So I'm sure by 10:30 you can start expecting to see a lot of tweets. But the interesting thing is Ross McKeon saying it's not a former presser. So will we in fact see an announcement from McClellan leaving tomorrow, or Doug Wilson moving? Well, I can't imagine them doing the Doug Wilson thing, but...
I'm guessing it's going to be at Shark's Ice, so there's not really...
hey, if you want to do it, you can do
have
it.
a press conference there, per se. What are they going to do it at Stanley's? Or in the atrium in between?
I'm sure they could figure out a way to do it. I mean,
If
what's
they need to do
happening
a press
tomorrow?
conference, they will.
Yeah, what's happening tomorrow at the tank that they can't do something in the morning there?
Well, to have the media, if they're going to be interviewing all the players as they're cleaning out their stuff at Shark's Ice, Doug's probably just going to stand by the wall like he did last year and say this is unacceptable, blah, 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 blah. You're probably not going to get much out of it that just, it's Wednesday.
Well, and that's when your response is, oh, do you mean the Sharks or you, Doug Wilson?
Right. So, with that, we will step aside from the Sharks because...
Oh, are we going to commercial?
No, we're stepping aside the Sharks are stepping aside because...
We're going to talk about something that has nothing to do with the Sharks.
No.
Right. We're going to talk about...
Nope. We have one more thing to touch on.
Oh, my God. Kill my production value.
Oh, just leave it alone. I hit you about this earlier. The one thing that you have to touch on as a Sharks fan, as someone who invokes the Clo with the posse and the insaneness, we have to talk about Clo retiring. Concussions are a motherfucker.
I mean, the game he played, I guess I'm not that surprised. I mean, I think he's married, if I recall. And, I mean, I don't blame him, and plus he got paid anyways. He's got plenty of money probably if he's managed it well. Good for him.
Now, do you think that they would... See, I can't see them doing this. Would you think that Wilson or whoever would try to hand him the, Shark for a day package so he can retire in Teal, since he came up with this system and never won a cup with anybody else? or played longer with anybody else.
I'd like to see that. That'd be nice.
It would be nice, but I don't think it would be too much of a big presser like they've done before with Blake and Ronick and Naby. I think it'd be
And Nolan.
Should be bigger than Ronick. Give me a break.
You know, I think it'll just be it'll be a smaller thing. He signed. Can they even sign one day contract right now because their season's done?
Well, see, I don't think they do the one-day contract. I don't think they do the press conference. I think it's a case of they just one of the first 5 games of this season, maybe I can't see him doing it on opening night because I think they're gonna take advantage of having Doug Wilson drop the puck since it's the 25th anniversary and he was the first captain
next year.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think if anything, maybe they do a Klo bobblehead or something. Maybe they do something to acknowledge Klo. I'm just saying they do maybe some sort of like a Klo night at most, but probably the most they do is just have him drop a puck. And it's not even going to be game 1, and that's the most they're going to do. They're not going to do a presser for him.
I would be surprised if they do so much as to, all right, we traded with New Jersey for his rights for future considerations. Hi, I'm Ryan Klo, and I'm retiring, and that's pretty much it. He'll probably get a puck drop sometime during the year.
And what the fuck are future considerations? Does it mean that if sometime in the future a Devil goes to your team for 2 seasons, you trade him back to us?
No, it's a wink and a nod, basically.
Right.
It's one of those IOUs you kind of tear up.
Well, yeah, right. But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it is almost kind of like the same thing. Is that if we, if for some reason we're in a similar situation with you where we need a player traded back, you do it, no questions asked, blah blah blah.
It's like, hey, Doug, it's Stevie Yzerman. Remember when we traded Naby to you? How about
Well, I think I tend to doubt they trade for him under his current contract because it wouldn't surprise me with how big that is. The accounting might come up as an issue because Naby, I don't know how much he was making, but he was not making that much. So if we got dinged for 10% of his contract, something like that, no big deal. We get dinged for 10% of Klo's contract, that's substantially more money. And even if whether we pay it or not is a different question, but
right.
Still on the salary cap.
And to properly, I think, acknowledge Klo and what he meant to the Sharks, I think he should have to do the puck drop from the Sharks bench in the way that he played that puck from the Sharks bench.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite plays.
I
so bad, but so good.
Yes, I would like to see that.
So now, I can't think of a new segue, so F it. So now, let's talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs! The thing that the Sharks aren't going to be participating in for the first time. Alright, so, guys, tomorrow starts the 2-month journey towards Lord Stanley's Cup. I guess we're done. We're out of time. Thanks for watching us. See you later.
Easy on the sound effects there.
We will start off in the East, and we will start off with we'll break down each series. We will begin with the Rangers against the Penguins. The Penguins won their last game to get Boston to send home wicked salty cup of clam chowder. The Rangers are the President's Trophy winners, where we think, well, was Dan Boyle and James Shepard the missing pieces to the puzzle for the Rangers?
No.
So, guys, I'll start off with Chris because I already know what AJ's going to be picking. Chris, your thoughts on Rangers Penguins?
I don't understand how you think that you know exactly who I'll be picking. I just don't understand that at all. But go ahead. You can go.
Chris, go ahead.
You got to turn on your mic, goofball.
Yep. Okay, there we go. And you need to turn off your mic, goofball. My turn to talk. Anyways, I'm picking the Rangers because, well, we all saw the trajectory the Penguins were on at the end of the season there. I think the Penguins are potentially the better team, but just given the last month or so, I cannot pick them. So I think I'll say they put up a fight, 6 or 7 games. My official pick is 6 games, but I think they will put up a fight. They might even upset them, but I think unless the Penguins manage to get their game on straight over the handful of days between the end of the season and tomorrow, I don't see them winning the series.
I think it's a little obvious, but AJ, your thoughts on Rangers Penguins?
Chris, you ignorant slut. No, I think for me,
I thought you'd save that for later.
Yeah, I know. No, to me the Rangers are just deeper. They're a bit more balanced. I think Pittsburgh relies way too much on that top line. They expect Crosby and Malkin to just carry them. Fleury has had a kind of a bounce back year this year, but I still, Henrik is king, and I give the nod to the Rangers, and I think they're on a tear right now with home ice. I actually think the Rangers will pull it off in 5. I think Pittsburgh is on the downward. They're trajecting downward. New York's going up. I say Rangers in 5.
So when you say the Rangers are more balanced, do you mean as in they're like all tilted all towards their goaltender?
I'm going pretty much with the same prediction. Rangers in 5. I think that there's way too much that Pittsburgh would have to deal with. You don't know about the status of which superstar is going to be healthier. Will it be why can't I'm blanking?
Crosby. His name's Crosby.
No, I'm thinking Malkin. Thank you. If Malkin's going to be healthy, will Crosby be healthy? Will Letang be okay? Ehrhoff is now day to day. I mean, it's a matter of how are they going to keep healthy, and of course Fleury has had some goaltending issues as of late in the postseason. Will that trickle over? Will it be the beginning of the end for the Pittsburgh quote-unquote dynasty, per se, starting with this playoff loss? All right,
you use some funny words there real quick.
Like
as
dynasty.
of late, dude, as of late, you mean like the last 5 years?
Well, when
I'm
saying
dynasty
that maybe they start considering maybe trading Malkin, or to get some more cap space to bring out a fuller team.
I'm just saying, you can't be a dynasty if you only win once.
Well,
you got to win at least 2, minimum 2.
My point is how Pittsburgh, kind of gets some nice calls their way.
Well, when you're Pierre's love child. Moving
on, we will go for the Atlantic Division champion Montreal Canadiens and what they're calling the Cinderella team, the Ottawa Senators, who came out of nowhere in the last few weeks and couple months of the season, even though they had injuries to their defense core, or their defense core was having an issue, or their goaltending wasn't exactly the great, until the Hamburglar came along and stole the show for the Ottawa Senators. Guys, do the Sens have a chance on pulling off the mega upset against probably the best chance for Canada to win the Stanley Cup?
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
All right, Chris.
Two words. 2 words. Carey fucking Price. He's gonna get it. Hammond, been an amazing story for Ottawa this season, but Montreal is better at almost every position. PK Subban will be amazing, but Carey Price will be the difference. And I'm telling you, I don't know what the words, what the French word, and I'm sure you will. I don't know what the French words for holy fuck is it loud in here, but the Bell Center will be explosive playing another Canadian team in that first round. It's going to be awesome, and home ice will take it. Canadians in 6.
Chris.
I'm picking Canadians in 7. I think just based on recent trajectories, I think Montreal's been pretty good all throughout the season. Senators got red hot towards the end there, and I like the Senators to push them to the brink. Like I think 6 or 7. I'm going with 7. I think I agree. Carey Price will be the difference in that series. Yeah, I mean I tend to think though. I think Montreal should be able to beat them easier than that, but Senators have been playing top of their game recently.
I think the Sens will give them a run for their money, even though I have them predicting to go out in 6 games. I think Hammond can steal a game, especially if it goes into overtime. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 7 games and maybe Ottawa steals it. But I think Montreal is too stacked. Their defensive core is very good. As long as PK Subban doesn't, give up the puck more, I think they should be in good shape with Price. I mean, the guy's a beast. He'll definitely have some Hart Trophy consideration coming up soon. But yeah, Montreal in 6 over Ottawa. Good run for the Sens. Something to build off of. Oh, by the way, Andrew Hammond's a free agent at the end of the year too. Moving on. The classic rivalry between the New York Islanders and the Capitals.
I'm sorry, did you say classic rivalry?
Last time these teams met...
I wasn't born!
Last time these teams met, Turgeon was sent off with the separated shoulder thanks to Dale Hunter in 1993, while the Islanders made their miracle run towards the Eastern Conference Final, which they lost to the Montreal Canadiens, the last team that won the Stanley Cup for a Canadian team. This one was
so old. This matchup was so old. I think the Washington Capitals were known as the Bullets back then, right?
They were never called the Bullets.
Sense the joke.
Good job there, Damon Bruce, or insert any other local.
Anyways, Islanders Capitals. This could be a good series. Your thoughts?
No, you start us off.
Oh, me? Well, I gotta take the graphic off.
After seeing your face, put the graphic back up. Sorry.
Well, he had to do it. It was the obvious joke. You put it on a tee, someone's gonna hit it.
You hung that one right over the plate, and I was like, oh, I have to crush it.
Yep.
Oh, that's so sweet of you guys, you arrogant bastards.
Speaking of which, I could really use some of that right now.
Arrogant bastard, that's right, baby.
Very nice, very nice. I'll give you that one.
Okay, hold on. Let's finish. Just a quick. It's an interactive show. We got to hit the tweets when we get them. And going back to our last matchup, Montreal and Ottawa, one of our loyal watchers on here, Jacob, says maybe Price will pull a Kershaw. Be great in the regular season, but blow it in the playoffs. I don't fucking think so, but that is an interesting idea. If anything, I think that's more. Yeah, but I think that's more pulling a Luongo than anything.
Well, also Montreal has a team beyond him.
Yeah.
The Dodgers basically their Kershaw was. I mean, look at their. Not get too far into it, but their bullpen was shit. The rest of their rotation was questionable. The rest of their lineup, Kershaw was it. But
And let's be honest, Kemp and Puig couldn't get it done when it counted. But wrong sport. That's something we'll take into Baseball After Dark in about 3 months. Go ahead.
Well, I to get back to the Islanders Capitals series, um, the young Islanders, the inexperience, I think, might come into play. Trotz has has them on a good run lately. Holtby can maybe steal some games. You also have Ovechkin, who's supposedly gotten better defensively. His plus minus would show you that. But in the end, I think the Capitals will win in 6. I don't think there's going to be too much. I mean, Tavares is a good skater, but I think they're pretty much going to have a swan song as their final game in Long Island. AJ
Chris?
or Chris.
Okay, I'll take it. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. You know what? I really don't have a dog in this fight per se. Like, I could really give it for pretty much every series this season. I can find a reason to root for one team and root against another team, with the exception of this series. I'm really kind of all sorts of don't give a fuck. The only reason I'm going with the Islanders is because I'm very excited about the Rangers going past Ottawa, and the hockey gods would love a Manhattan versus Long Island playoff in the second round. New York versus New York. How great would that be? The hockey gods would love that, so that's why I'm taking the Islands.
Chris, your thoughts?
So, first of all, on Alexander Ovechkin being better defensively, he just has a coach who's better at hiding him from opposing good players. It's the Brent Burns thing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Have you watched? Like, if you think Brent Burns' defense is comedic, you need to watch a little more Alex Ovechkin. Like, he's awesome in the offensive end. Holy shit, he is.
You could say the same with PK Subban too.
Oh yeah, no, it's true. Well, PK Subban's better than that, but I'm just saying he's like.
I thought PK Subban was a defenseman.
He is terrible defensively, and Islanders have home ice, so. With that means the matchups will be dictated by the Islanders more than the Capitals, which means they will force Ovechkin to play more defense, and we know how that ends up. So, with the home ice, I am predicting New York Islanders in 7. I mean, going out on a limb there. I think the Capitals, they have the offense to push them to the limit a bit. I almost went in 6, but I'll go in 7. But I think because they can dictate that matchup with Ovechkin, they will effectively neutralize him 4 games out of the 7. So I'm going with Islanders in 7.
All right. And hey, we actually you have Eric, you have a miracle poster of some sort behind you?
Yeah, it's behind me up here. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's fantastic. So we're finding out on Twitter. Viewers are wanting to know if that poster is available, and if it is and on sale, does it come with a tweet up button, or is that extra?
Unfortunately, it is not for sale. Thank you very much, Generation X. But no, it's not for sale. And if you do want a tweet up button, I will see you opening night next season.
Or at the equipment sale.
Or at the equipment sale, which I can't wait. Oh my God, I have a chance to finally get a Marlowe jersey.
I have a chance to get a Doug Wilson tie or a suit.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of which, shout out
or a hairpiece.
Hang on, shout out to NHL Ties. They are getting together to do a I don't know if it's an auction or whatnot, but they are trying to assemble some game-worn ties, as strange as it seems, but it's for a good cause.
You know what? I'm pretty sure NHL Ties follows and reps the show from time to time. Do us a favor. You're watching NHL Ties, and in fact, maybe I can just drop them a line. real quick that if he'll send us the details, we'll promo it on here at the end
Absolutely.
of our at the end of our playoff picks. So
Right.
who's next?
Next up, it's the final Eastern matchup, and maybe the most interesting one.
Bullshit. Montreal,
No.
Ottawa's the most interesting one.
Who loves Stevie Eiserman more, Tampa Bay or Detroit? This was the matchup of the apprentice versus the master, where GM Ken Holland has tried to retool on the fly, unlike some other people, the Detroit Red Wings against a Tampa Bay Lightning team that is stacked, who almost won the division title, and with Steven Stamkos and Bishop, I mean, Eiserman's assembled a great team here, but Detroit's got some issues in net. Guys, your thoughts? Tampa Bay or Detroit?
Who went first last time?
I believe you did. So, Chris, your thoughts?
First of all, Howard. Darn. So this one was close to a toss-up for me. I looked back and forth at a lot of different things. I think Lightning, in terms of talent, I like them better. In terms of experience, been there, done that. I like Detroit. Babcock is well coaching for his job. I'm actually going with the upset. I'm picking Detroit in 6.
Chris, you ignorant slut.
Oh, well, don't wait until we get to the Vancouver-Calgary series.
We're gonna have ignorant.
We'll see who the ignorant slut is there.
We get to the West.
We get to the West. We get to Calgary, Vancouver. We might have to throw down a little bit of a bar bet, but
Right.
For me, it's Tampa, no question. I think Tampa, like I said earlier about the what fucking matchup did I say that about? Fucking New York, the Rangers and the Sens. Or Ranger and Pens. Sorry, I get my Sens and Pens mixed up. No, it's kind of a similar. Yeah. I need another fucking beer. It's kind of a similar thing that I think Tampa's deeper and more balanced, whereas Detroit relies too heavily on their marquee players. They expect a lot from Zets and Datsuk. And no one. Howard has gotten it done in the past, but I think he's a little bit beyond the pale. And let's be honest, no one loves beating the Bishop more than I, but it's a tough job, and I don't think Detroit can do it. Come on, where's the fucking laugh track, you assholes? That was fucking funny, man. You guys are. Fuck you. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Too little, too late. Tampa Bay in 6. Fuck you.
All right. I think Detroit's going to have major goaltending problems. They'll probably steal a game in Detroit, but I can't see Tampa overpowering them. They've gotten into the postseason a little bit, here and there. I think it's finally time that they jump on to the second round. I'm picking Lightning in 5 because I don't trust Detroit's goaltending whatsoever. I think Howard's probably going to, pretty much lose his job, and Mrazek isn't exactly the greatest place in the world, which says, hey, Doug, if you have a team that you want to trade Nemo's rights to by the draft, might be your best option.
Detroit. Remember, Detroit used to be in the same division as Niemi. They know all about him.
Exactly. So I think that would be a perfect spot for, hey, Doug.
When I say they know all about him, I don't mean that in a good way.
Okay. Chris took Detroit in how many there, pal?
Chris took Detroit in 6.
Okay, and I'm taking Lightning in 6. Okay, do me a favor. Move that one off to the side, because I get the feeling that Chris and I may disagree on 3 different ones, and there will be beers and like original gravity sausages on the line when all is said and done. So our pick. Oh, that's fantastic.
Eric, put yourself on the thing.
There, yeah, I'm on. Oh, you want me on? Oh God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Make it so it stays on you, because when we talk. No, I mean put it up, but like focus the camera on you, so it'll stay up.
So that way it stays on. Right. So
Yeah.
here's our picks overall. All of us are picking Montreal and the Rangers. I'm taking the Capitals to beat the Islanders, while AJ and Chris aren't. And me and AJ agree on Tampa Bay, while Chris goes for the upset against Detroit, um, which would, I believe, would cause a Montreal against Tampa, Detroit, and Rangers against Capitals or Islanders. So.
I kind of wish you'd taken like little cutouts of our heads and like put them like next to each team. That would have been fantastic. You know, like they do on like the Fox NFL Sunday or something.
Sports Illustrated does that shit too.
We have to actually take a picture. So
okay, next year we do that. We increase the production. Like our goal is to increase production value over the summer. Next year we do that.
All right.
That's awesome.
We go to the West now.
In fact, do me a favor when you do it. You have to use Chris's trolling face where he like went to the camera and was like,
I don't know which episode that was, so I don't.
I can pose again. I can definitely pose again.
Oh, wait. Generation X or Chester Chivo. Here's your shot. Ready? And turn off your lower third, Chris. In 3, 2, 1, go.
It doesn't work if he doesn't make a noise first.
No, I can make a I can have.
Well, I can make a noise, but yeah. Or actually, no, it should be this way, right?
God, that is just so scary. Oh boy. Anyways, let's move on to the West. 4 intriguing matchups that we probably will disagree on. Beginning with St. Louis against Minnesota. The Blues kind of were up and down, up and down. They stole the Central Division from Nashville. Meanwhile, while Minnesota went on a crazy run after their coach went on a crazy rant that was caught on camera.
That was awesome.
And was actually looking to steal the third spot in the Central from Chicago, but came up short. So, guys, Minnesota, St. Louis, it's their first time that these teams have met each other. In the past, when the North Stars were playing the Blues, those were always good, classic, tough series. I'll start off with AJ on this one. Blues Wild, your thoughts?
I don't know. I stopped listening when you said up and down, up and down. I got excited. Hey, may all your up and downs be in. But anyway, I will go with Minnesota was great. They had the cute story with the coach like just having one of the best all-time meltdowns ever recorded. But actually, I think this series could potentially be the tightest in the first round. I see it going 7. I think all but one game will be won. The victorious team will win by 1 goal in 6 out of the 7 games. But I give the edge to St. Louis on experience in the playoffs and having the home ice. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is kind of like the Sharks LA a couple seasons ago, where the home team wins every game. I think it could mirror the Sharks Kings from a couple seasons ago. I think it's going to be that tight.
Chris?
So I think I like the Wild. As you guys know, Minnesota is one of my 2 second homes. I think they will put up a good fight. They might even stretch them to 7, but I can't see them winning the series right now. Blues are too strong. They also have a lot more playoff experience on that roster. I'm picking Blues in 6, and fingers crossed, depending on how prices work out, I might be at one of the 2 Minnesota Wild home games. I'm actually out in Minnesota next week, so if we do a Pucknology After Dark, I will be like a couple time zones over, and I don't know how way after dark I can stay up, but fingers crossed, I might be at one of those games.
Nice.
I will ask if you can pick up the matchup puck. I would reimburse you for sure as a puck collector. I am the only one going for Minnesota. I think St. Louis has had their playoff problems in the past, kind of similar in the sense to the Sharks. They are a better team, but I also think Minnesota has what it takes to pull off the upset. I think we all thought there's no way Minnesota was going to win last year when they won in Colorado. They gave Chicago a really tough time when.
I picked that one. I'll just say that. I did pick Colorado going down.
Well, we weren't doing
nobody cares.
Here, so. But my point being is that Minnesota's always been considered an underdog, and they've always shocked the world. If it's not 2 games, they won the series.
Oh, for Christ's sakes, we're 90 minutes into this. Who's your fucking pick?
Hey, you know what? It's a 2-hour special. We still have 3 teams to go.
Oh, this is a 2-hour special? Absolutely. Let me get another beer.
There you go. Go for it. So I say Minnesota wins in 7. St. Louis will have almost their longest curse of the year, or the longest curse outside the Leafs. We move on to.
Oh, and if you
Chicago.
If you missed it, I believe that Gen X did in fact get your troll face, Chris. I don't know what I'm going to be able to come up with. I got to come up with some. Maybe they could just do a shot. Maybe he can do just like this. Instead of my face, it's just a shot of my spiky hair.
No.
But actually, you know what? You know what would be perfect? It's going to be the Generation X is going to have the shot of you, Eric, wearing the tinfoil hat.
I didn't know where that tinfoil came from, by the way.
It's called Photoshop, bitch. So it'll have you wearing the tinfoil hat for your picks, Chris doing the troll face, and for me, it'll just be the Hulk. But anyway, go ahead.
No, for you actually, it should just be you like with your bottle like that. Generation, please. Like, if you can redo Eric's graphics with all these pictures before the end of the show, we'll put it on here.
All right, moving on. Let's try this again. Nashville against Chicago. Nashville seemed like they were going to run away with everything. President's Trophy, best record in the West, yada yada yada. They fell off. Because of their lack of scoring. Chicago is suddenly the media darling of the world. And what are you doing? Wait, what are you doing, AJ?
I have no idea.
I don't know, but I don't know what he's doing, but I'm prepared because it just for those of you on the live show, you can't see this, but it gives me a little notification like AJ Strong just opened capture. So.
Oh, is that what I did? Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
Okay. I'm just
sorry.
Trying fingers are up ready.
Anyways.
No, I was trying to turn on the picture overlay.
Moving along.
Lie down, AJ.
Oh, we got time. I was trying to turn on the goddamn picture overlay because, excuse me, he gave me the idea, and so of course I had to use it. It's like they already have the screenshot available, so they have it they can use the it's none of my business thing. That's fine, no problem. So they get Chris on the troll face, AJ, it's none of my business, Eric with the foil hat. Go ahead. What's your pick there, buddy?
So, we're talking about Nashville and Chicago. Nashville was trying to steal the President's Trophy, but then fell apart at the end with lack of scoring. AJ's now gone for some reason, so I'll start with you, Chris. Nashville and Chicago.
Did he just say Nashville?
Nashville.
Nashville? Okay. Dude, I'm German, but even I think that's ridiculous.
What the fuck's
I'll go
Eric been
first.
drinking? Dude, what's Eric been drinking?
Okay, I'll go first, make my pick. Y'all pipe down, chill out, AJ. So I will say this first about Nashville. The lack of scoring was a problem all season. It just never bit them in the ass. They, as far as luck stats go, they were always riding high on the pine all season long. It kind of slowed down later in the season, and it caught, I think they were a good team this season, but nowhere near as good as their record in the early things said. I like Chicago to beat them in 6. It wouldn't honestly surprise me at all if they beat them in 5.
AJ. Bueller.
Am I on? I thought you still had me muted. Okay.
You're good.
So
we just don't have your camera though.
Oh, really? What are you talking about? I'm on.
We can hear you. We just don't have your camera.
AJ, did you switch to AOL?
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. No, I didn't. I swear to God. Hold on. I'm looking at it. Let me see. Oh, it shows me as that my camera is on, good sir. I see myself,
You see yourself? Oh,
and
that's weird.
it's moving.
Chris, do you see yours? Or do you see him on camera? I don't see him on camera. You know what? Turn your
No.
camera off and then turn your camera back on.
Oh my God. Who's
See,
your daddy and what does he do?
AJ, are you like? Did your
Did you
power
figure
go
it
out?
out?
There
Oh,
he
there
is.
you go. There he is.
Okay, there it is.
Anyway, back
Who
to
the
the
hell are we
match.
talking about? Nashville and Chicago, or Nashville in Chicago. Okay.
Yes, Nashville and Chicago.
All right. Despite Nashville having the home ice, I will give the edge to Chicago simply based on experience. These guys have gone to the finals way too many times over the last 4 years and won it twice. And I also think Nashville potentially could have peaked a little too early. I also think this series is actually the one I think could come down to special teams. And I think Chicago's special teams a little bit better, and their defense will be the difference. Chicago in 7.
Chicago in 7. All right. Well, you pretty much made all my points for me. Special teams will be a key.
All right, then. Moving on.
But I say Chicago in 5. I think that if Kane is to return for
Yes.
one, that might be the one to push it over. However, if Kane is targeted and he goes down again, this series will probably go 7, and maybe Nashville steals it, but I still say Chicago nonetheless. Off to the biggest one that we will be talking about that'll piss off each other. It's Vancouver and Calgary. The last time these teams met was in 2004, when we last saw Calgary begin its march towards the Stanley Cup final, and what is it? And what was it? Jovanowski was going berserk in the penalty box when Vancouver tied it with 5 seconds left in Game 7. AJ, we will start with you. Vancouver and Calgary, a renewal of a rivalry that has gone back to the 80s.
You asshole. This should have been the very last one we covered. But okay. We've already done St. Louis, Minnesota. We've already done Nashville, Chicago. Yeah, I was hoping we'd save this to last. But anyway, you know what? Everybody you talk to seems to have a different opinion on this. And Chris is that fucking guy who's going to fuck with me and goddamn take fucking Vancouver just to piss me off. But I'm going Flames in 7. And I think this could also be another matchup where every game is won by 1 goal. It would not surprise me if 3 of these games go to overtime. But it's my favorite matchup in the first round. Calgary has been, for me, the Cinderella story of this whole season. They lose their captain halfway through. They still manage to keep on rolling. They've been kind of I shouldn't say suspect in goal, but they almost don't have a number 1 goalie, and they're still letting it happen for Calgary. I think they're going to be too fast for Vancouver. I think Vancouver is too old and too slow at this point. Who the hell's going to be in goal? Is it going to be Lack? Is it going to be Miller? The sisters are, well, the sisters. They know how to, screw the pooch and get speed back at the best time ever. And Alexander Burrows, there's no fingers to bite in Calgary without you getting burned. So I'm just saying, final thing, the hockey gods do not let good things happen to teams that dive. So Calgary will break Vancouver's heart in 7.
AJ, you ignorant slut. So I know you made your pick and stuff, but I hate to bring facts in the way of these things, but Calgary, in every measurable way, was not that good. They've been incredibly lucky this season. Pretty much everything that could go their way has gone their way. Vancouver, you say they're old. I say they're experienced. They are going to school.
Spoken like an old guy.
They are going to. You're going to call me old when you got. I mean, I am the.
Notice how it took him a second to recognize what I had said. That's senility setting in.
No, I'm just distracted like Marlo here. But
Look, I flustered him.
Okay. Okay, these guys are going to get schooled by the Sedin twins because the Sedin twins, I hate them, but they are good at what they do. Especially we're talking about a matchup night over night here. We're not talking about a matchup that's 2 days after another game against a different team where they don't have time to prepare. Vancouver will school them. They'll have proper time to prepare. They'll identify all the weaknesses of the younger players, figure out how to make them bite, how to make them make mistakes. Calgary is going to get schooled in this matchup. I'm not going to call a sweep, but I say Vancouver in 5.
Oh my God, we are so betting on this. Okay, moving on.
And for me, I say that it's going to be a classic showdown. It will be a one-goal games, and I think Game 7 will come down to double overtime, and this time it won't be Bure to end the Calgary's year. It will be some other douchebag that we can't stand. Whether it's Lack, whether it's Miller, I don't know. I think Vancouver can power them, but I also think Calgary will give them a run for their money, especially if Mark Giordano is going to make a comeback to play in this series, even if it's late in the series. Vancouver wins in 7 games. I would also predict that it'll go into overtime for Game 7.
You're taking Vancouver too? Oh, I'm going to kick both your asses. All right, go ahead.
We go to the final one, and it's a big one. It is the West's best team against the True North Strong and Free. The Anaheim Ducks, the team that pretty much dominated wire to wire in the Pacific Division with no chance whatsoever.
They didn't
catching
dominate
them.
wire to wire.
And then the former Atlanta Thrashers, now Winnipeg Jets, make their official return to the playoffs after a 2007 bye every prospect or every veteran we can to win the division and go out in 4 games against the Rangers. This time it's different. They have a bunch of Stanley Cup champions from 2010, including Ladd and Dustin Byfuglien. They're riding a hot goalie in Andre Pavlik. Guys, your thoughts? Ducks and the Jets.
I guess I should start since I made AJ go first last time because I really need the opportunity to call him an ignorant slut there. But I am going to go with Anaheim here. I think they are that stats-defying team. If you follow advanced stats like I do, you know that pretty much they always, over the long run, are correct. But Anaheim is the team that managed to live on the wrong side of the advanced stats year over year and still managed to come up with one of the best records in hockey. However, when that actually works out, or say when that ends, usually that's why they keep departing in the playoffs early. But it will not be in the first round. I picked them to go out in the second round regardless. I don't know who the component will be, but I think they'll go out in the second round this year. I don't think the Jets have enough. I think there'll be a lot of close games. Anaheim likes to live against the wire, and I'm picking Anaheim in 6. Jets will give them a legitimate scare.
AJ.
I agree with most of Chris's stuff. I think Anaheim will give them, Winnipeg will give Anaheim a legitimate scare. You mentioned they have some players on the team with some cup experience. Well, you know what? Last year, the Sharks had Tyler Kennedy and Anthony Niemi both would play off. That shit means nothing when it comes right down to it. The second season, there's a reason why they call it the second season. All that shit goes out the fucking window. For me, the story of Winnipeg this season, it has been fun to watch. It's been a blast to see how much that city is into that fucking team. The way that they support it is a great story and fun to watch. However, I think they're at least one more year out from going anywhere beyond the first round. Anaheim has the stars and more experience. Ducks in 6 as well. But we all know that Eric has a Winnipeg hard-on, so let her rip.
Grip it and rip it, as Al McInnes would say. I like to point out, we talked about the Miracle poster over here. I want to talk about this towel over here. That was given out as the first home playoff game in the Sharks' history back in '94. That rink in Winnipeg, despite it only having 15,000 fans, or 15,000 somewhat seats, gets loud. They are into it. They are all over you, and it will be insane when the series goes back to Manitoba. However, the home ice advantage isn't exactly the greatest in the world for the Anaheim Ducks, and with their goaltending issues that they've had on and off again, and right now on again, if their power play falters, which Winnipeg has been proven to be a good PK team, and they steal a game in Anaheim, remember, that's pretty much all they need to do is steal a game in Anaheim, and then they'll have home ice, and they take care of their home games where they probably have one of the biggest home ice advantages or crowds behind them. I say the whiteout will live on for at least another round, and Winnipeg will shock everybody and win it in 6 games. Get ready to get excited on Portage and Maine.
Which explains to everybody why he put on the white golf polo shirt when we were on.
And why he saved this one for last when much more fun to have us bicker over Vancouver and Calgary last, but he needed to finish up waving his little fucking towel and shit. do we got an AOL joke or something queued up? Like,
shut up. Here's our picks for the West. It is me going with the Jets while AJ and Chris go for the Ducks. I am in agreement with Chris with the Vancouver Canucks instead of AJ going with the Flames. Personally, I think that's just for AJ to get excited about TSN 1040 and the callers. We are all in agreement about Chicago, and I am the lone one picking Minnesota while AJ and Chris take the Blues. That would set up for me, it would set up a Vancouver-Winnipeg Western second round along with Minnesota-Chicago. For AJ, it would set up a Ducks-Flames second round matchup along with the Blackhawks and Blues.
Which would be even better.
What Chris would have predicted, along with Anaheim and Vancouver in round 2. So with that,
I did gotta say, Eric's matchup appears to be a little more fun. Just saying that you would have 2 Canadian teams going at it in the second round, that would be a lot of fun, but it's not gonna happen.
I know. I mean, well, either way, it would happen if Calgary were to get in there, but there's something about Winnipeg that catches my attention. I think that home ice is going to be massive. I think you're going to even have like some people in Winnipeg call, the Ducks hotel to wake them up. Can Corey Perry be on the schneid and be his douchebag rather than scoring? I think they're going to get all. I think Winnipeg just can be on a lucky side for this round. They may not escape round 2, but Anaheim doesn't seem to impress them that much.
Wishful thinking.
Well,
let's be real here. If it was another team besides,
let's be real here. You first.
Let's be real here. So I'm going to give you a very unreal idea.
Yeah. Shh. If there was another team going up against Anaheim, would you give Anaheim a chance?
Okay, which team? Like
which team, dude?
Well, we'll call it. Okay, we'll call it Calgary.
Calgary will get swept against them because.
No, you lie. But if Anaheim was maybe say facing Minnesota in the first round, I think I might lean towards Anaheim in 7.
Instead of what, Minnesota?
Well, Chris has his microphone off, so it really doesn't matter what he's saying. No, I would say Anaheim over Minnesota in 7. It's not my fault your mouth is moving and nothing's coming out, bro.
Man, well, see, I actually know how to mute my microphone once in a while.
So do I, fucknut.
But yeah, if it's against Minnesota, I would still probably say Anaheim in 7, but I'm just gonna let this guy go on. But I would still say Anaheim in 7. But again, I think either of them could upset. I think Winnipeg could upset them, but I think Anaheim is curiously good at living right on the edge, right up until the first or second round of the playoffs. and I just don't think Winnipeg has enough to push them over the top. I think if Vancouver makes second round, they see Vancouver. I think Vancouver would be the one to push Anaheim over.
Yeah.
So,
I
although
also,
the Western Conference doesn't impress me as much this year as it has in past years.
it doesn't, but I also think it's a case of Anaheim is also playing for Boudreau's job.
And that's what I was just going to bring up. If Winnipeg were to upset the Ducks, could Boudreau be another coaching candidate thrown into the massive craziness in the offseason? I think, yeah, they're playing for Boudreau's job. And if Boudreau and the Ducks go out early, could we see Mike Babcock going back to Anaheim to coach the Ducks?
Oh, man. No, that'd be a little too Sharks for that to happen.
Let's go to the tweets while we are
Yes.
chatting here. Let's see here. Looking at let's see here. It kind of cut off. There we go.
Well, Daryl Martin, one of our favorites, King Shark 49, had one that I wanted to make sure that we got to. Was he says one of his predictions for tomorrow. Now, McClellan, I think we've all agreed on that the big prediction is McClellan's gone. After we will find out tomorrow that McClellan is no longer coaching the Sharks. There will not be an announcement on who a replacement is, because how could you in that short a time? Will we get an announcement on Doug moving, that they're going to be bringing in a new GM? Probably not. I think it's a lot of it. It's just going to be media day talking to the players, and oh, by the way, McClellan talked to his family, and he's not coming back. That's what I'm assuming. But King Shark 49 says one of his predictions is the Sharks will not pursue Dan Bylsma or anyone, but well, who gives a shit, Bylsma? Or the guy who called her, Chelena is giving me fucking grammatical advice. Okay, anyway. He says the Sharks will not pursue him or anyone that can take a team over the top, because essentially the Sharks want, or Doug Wilson wants, someone they can control and won't rock the boat. I don't know about that, just being that I don't know that McClellan was really controllable in that it was more or less that he had his hands tied in what he was able to do, because Wilson gave him such a shitty, piss poor, options at defense. They were abysmal.
Wait, we're not talking about the 49ers here. We're talking about the Sharks, okay?
And that was the whole thing. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about King Shark 49's tweet, was that and Chris had mentioned it earlier, is how much more 49ers can the Sharks go at this point? I mean, it is almost like once the 49ers move south, it's like, oh, look at these two South Bay teams just mirroring each other and just stinking up the joint.
Something in the water, maybe. I don't know.
I guess so. You know what it is?
It's like water.
There's something in that water. There's something in that water in the Pacific Northwest that makes those fans entitled. There's something in the water down here that makes ownership, or I should say general managers and ownership, just not know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, it's head scratcher indeed. We will hopefully get some answers tomorrow, although we'll probably get more questions instead.
Oh, yeah. And breaking news, this just in, the Giants have not scored a run in the last 17 innings.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Are we shocked? I mean, you saw the lineup they brought?
No, I hear you.
It has nothing to do with the odd year. It has everything to do with the damn lineup.
No, it's an awful. I mean, no Pence, no Pablo, and yeah. What do you?
And I think Posey has a night off.
Oh well, then that'll help do it too.
Yeah, and see how everybody was so excited. Can't wait for baseball season. Generation X-Wing just tweeted, "I cannot wait for Todd McClellan to get his Stanley Cup within the next 5 years."
Ooh, is that hashtag? Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm looking. I don't think it
Yeah,
is.
that would be. I cannot wait for get to. Yeah, Tommy gives. You know what? That would not surprise me at all. And Ian Reed at Ian Blog Sharks on Twitter says, "Tell me if this sounds familiar. Top heavy team, no death. Isn't Bielsma a lateral move? That's not too shabby. And actually, got to give some pub to at Ian Blog Sharks. He got together with some different people through social media. There was Andrew Bench. There was what's that guy's name? MJ cause something. He does stuff. I think it might also be on the Hockey Writers. I don't know. It's all on the Sharks Facebook page. But just follow at Ian Blog Sharks. He tweeted about it. But Ian's on there. Like I said, MJ's on there. Andrew Bench is on there. There's a couple other guys on there. And representing Pucknology, yours truly. I put my picks on there for the first round. So check it out on Twitter. In fact, I'll make sure to like tweet something out after we're done with this. But what do you think? Bilesma would be a lateral move from McClellan?
I mean, I don't think
Yes.
there's. I think if you go with, is there anybody better than McClellan besides Babcock that's going to be out there? I don't think so. So I think anything is a lateral move.
What do you think Julien would do here?
Claude-Julien, I don't know. I mean, if Wilson were to be gone from the GM spot, would you perhaps mean that Chiarelli comes with Julien if Chiarelli is gone?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a possibility that if you do have a GM that's not Doug Wilson next year, they will probably bring in another guy to be their coach.
I think most coaches would be a lateral move or worse, just with rare exception, because coaching's not the problem with this team.
It isn't.
Like, that's if anything, that's a strength. I know some people want to go on and on about that, but first and foremost, the problem is in the GM office and then with the talent on the ice.
Yeah, a lot of that. I mean, if you think about it, who are the guys that are kind of like middle of the pack? Who would you rank there? You'd put what? Pavelski, Couture, Pavelski again, Pavelski, Couture, Vlasic, Burns. Those are kind of like your four middle guys. Then on the top end, you've got Torres, been in the league over 10 years. You've got Thornton and Marlowe, your upper veteran guys, and then all this youth at the bottom. It just seems really disjointed. I mean, look, what did I say earlier? I think something like the Sharks had it was 45% of their roster. Most of the games this season were rookies essentially. I mean, remember Hurdle didn't get a full season last year, so you had essentially 7-8 rookies and a sophomore guy. That you'd be hard pressed to win a lot of games with that much inexperience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, McClellan did take this team almost. I mean, it was not impressive at all, but they were not that far off of the playoff spot. They play a little better, and they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, you take the last game against LA, which they had the lead. You take the Detroit game, they had the lead. The Ottawa game, they had the lead. The outdoor game, they had the lead. But you basically take just those 5 games, and let's be honest, we could go back and look at the schedule and easily find 5 more earlier that it was a case of they just couldn't find the fucking gas pedal. They couldn't find the throat of the opponent and, lay their boot down on it. Yeah, Carolina. Yeah, Buffalo dropping 2 to Buffalo. Fucking Edmonton. There were points to be had that the Sharks gave away. We could easily find 5 to 10 games that last year the Sharks easily win. This year, for some reason, just don't do it. And that was one of the key differences. And I don't know that I don't put that on the coach. I put that on players that just don't seem to want to play. And I don't think it's that they don't want to play for McClellan. It feels like they're just they just feel like this organization is just heading in the wrong direction, and there's really nothing they can do about it.
It might be one part discontent, but one part just inexperience too. I mean, like a big part of why, like you saw how much. I mean, the defense last year wasn't really that much better than this year in terms of like you look at who's on the blue line. There wasn't a huge difference, but the difference I think was in the forwards and the inexperience there. They don't know how to back check. They don't know how to cover guys when a guy pinches as well. Just those little bits and pieces. That's a big part of what made the defense. Like, because last year's defense wasn't very good. But it was not as atrocious as this year's defense. And if you look at who's back there, Burns is obviously no Dan Boyle, but Dan Boyle was not a good defender. Like let's compete. Like
last season, Dan Boyle wasn't Dan Boyle.
Yeah. So that's I think a big part of that was the forwards and the inexperience there. So I think it was I mean, to give management the fair shake. I mean, part of it is just those guys need to get the experience, and whether it was by putting them in the lineup one or two at a time on a normal year, or this year where they just threw a ton of them in the lineup, let them get the experience, took the pains. So, see how that works out.
Well, predicting on the Twitter machine, one of our awesome followers, Generation X-Wing, is saying that McClellan won't leave, because if he does, he forfeits a year on that, that Manziel Mola. So unless he gets an upgrade, nope. He says DW will fire him tomorrow. I still think it's somehow a mutual parting of the ways. I think it's maybe it's not a case of McClellan is coughing up that final year of the salary. Maybe they work out a deal where he walks for half the salary. Who knows? Because it's not like there's not at least 5 teams in the league that aren't going to back up a Brinks truck to McClellan's house as soon as they know he's available tomorrow.
Oh yeah, he'll get as much money or more somewhere else. I don't think money has anything to do with it.
All right, here's a question for you guys. Could Doug say, and kind of pull the same thing he did with Setaguchi, keep him around, and well, in Setaguchi's case, he re-signed him the day before, but then the next day trade him to a team? Is that possible in the NHL?
Trading coaches in the NHL? I mean, it's not that common in any sport, really.
So, right, but I mean, we remember the talks about how Harbaugh was supposed to go to Cleveland.
Jesus Christ, we aren't the Raiders, for fuck's sakes.
Well, we draft like them.
Hey-o!
We don't draft that badly. Like, let's be fair to the Sharks here. Like Jamarcus Russell. That enough said.
All right.
Pat Balloon.
All right, let's get off football.
We could be here all day. How we passed on Scott Niedermeyer for Falloon. But anyways,
let's not talk passing, because you could say that about every team ever. That's just how draft works.
And if we're going to talk about passing, you can't talk about passing unless talking about Joe Thornton. Thank you very much.
Oh, boy.
Hey-o.
Hi-yo. And in fact, because we're at the 2-hour mark now, so we got to think about wrapping this up. But before we do, I have to, we'd be remiss not to do it. So NHL Ties. If you're not following them, you might be a retard. Follow at NHL Ties on Twitter. They're putting together an auction together. Game-worn ties. It's going to be up for auction. He's not sure the full lineup yet, but he knows for a fact that Randy Hahn is in, Jamie Baker is in, some of the guys from Buffalo, Detroit, and Colorado announcing squads are in, and I would be shocked if Brody was not in.
Brody has said he can't part with any of his ties.
Well, he could probably part with the Jerry Garcia fucker I gave him like a year and a half ago. I'd be okay with that. So he has that option. And he hasn't decided. Apparently, they haven't gone with. They haven't figured out who's going to be hosting it just yet. But follow at NHL Ties on Twitter. They'll get the information out to you. You'll get the right people lined up. But what would be really great, and I think we'd all like to see it, is that if NHL.com stepped in and helped them out and had all of this going to Hockey Fights Cancer, because that I mean, you can't get better PR than that. So follow at NHL.Kais and God damn it, make a bid on a game worn tie.
From the special Randy On collection. Absolutely. Quick thing, guys. I kind of started a playoff beer because work has decided now that the Sharks are pretty much out of the playoffs that they changed policies and I can wear a beard to work. For 4 days, what do you think,
Not bad, Wolverine.
Chris?
Man,
For
not
4
impressed.
days, not bad, right?
But well, I'm not impressed. But y'all seen the beard I can grow, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said 4 days. If that was like 4 hours, I think we'd be impressed.
You were just not bad, Wolverine.
Dude, that's like no, because
That's
Brody
like the
Brazil
AOL of beards.
Yeah, that's a Brody Brazil. Damn, he's never gonna let that go. He's like a pit bull with a chew toy. No, Brody Brazil. Brody Brazil has a staggering facial hair growth thing happening. That is amazing to me. He can be on the broadcast on Thursday looking as smooth as a baby's bottom. 2 days later, Wolverine. I don't get that, but fucking his fiance better be on lockdown because that guy's testosterone must be over the edge. There it is, right there. There's a photo.
There we go. There's Brody on his appearance on After Dark. He actually was clean shaven at the time, so he was the one who came up with that.
He was clean shaven at the time and had a full growth by the end of the show.
Right. I mean, he had shaved, I think, on that Sunday, and then on Thursday when he was back doing pregame live, he had already started another one.
Oh, man. Okay, Nedich, I'm not going to say you went out and totally thieved my joke, but I'm just saying I beat you to it. Check my timeline, okay? Chester Chivo is tweeting out, the Sharks and T-Mac mutually part ways. McClellan goes to Michigan, and the Sharks promote Tom Sula to head coach. Now, I didn't go full-blown with that, but if you look at my timeline a couple days ago, I went back and forth with Cosmore on CSN, and Eric can back me up on this. Yep. I used the line that Doug Wilson would hire Tom Sula to be the head coach.
Well, after all, Doug and Niners GM Trent Baalke are totally best friends when we want to work together. And look at how well we've operated our teams since September. That's right.
You mean when they play golf together?
That's right. And we're also sharing the same tanning bed, too.
Your impressions scare me.
With that, let's wrap it up. We'll review our picks again for the West. I have Winnipeg to upset while AJ and Chris, while AJ just disappears. AJ and Chris go with the Ducks. Me and Chris have the Canucks. AJ has the Calgary Flames. We all take Chicago. AJ and Chris go with St. Louis, while I take Minnesota. Over in the East, we all have picked Montreal and the Rangers. I will one with the Capitals. Chris go with the Islanders. Me and AJ pick the Lightning, while Chris is the one picking Detroit. If something breaking happens, we will have a special edition later tomorrow night. Considering we probably won't, don't expect us to be on the air. But what will be on the air will be the Stanley Cup playoffs. Check your local listings for the games and wherever they are at. They're on NBCSN, CNBC, USA, and the NHL Network. They're spread all over the platforms. I'm sure that NBC, the main network, so NBC the area, will have games on the weekend. Until we meet again, maybe that'll be next week when we get deeper into the first round. I am Eric at PuckGuy14 on Twitter. You can follow us, AJ_Strong, who just went whack again.
Hi-yo.
And Chris JWS on Twitter. And for our Scratch J Alexander 46, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Good night, everybody. Although now that Capture has come on, I don't know how to end the call.
Oh, yeah, well, clearly something happened to your connection because we're all getting tweets that you've entered AOL mode.
Oh no, of course. I don't know how we're gonna end this.
Dude, you better just close the window and say goodbye.
We'll just close the window and hope for the best. If not, both you guys exit. Good night, guys.
Peace out. I don't know if we're still on the air or not, but AOL mode, that's awesome. Or not. I guess AJ left too.